All right, Matt, we are rocking and rolling. I'm excited for tonight's episode on new webinar on how to acquire insurance agencies. As you guys are coming in, okay, I'm going to introduce my co-host tonight. I also want you to throw in chat what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you're selling, where you're at. Give us some information about you. We've got Brandon, Fariti. Actually, that's Billy, by the way. You guys start changing your Zoom name on me, Fariti. Jared, David Peebles, and Lasante. We just had Michael join, Becky, Alan, Amanda, Andrew. Okay, it's popping off. People are excited. Matt, people are excited about buying some agencies, man.
I'm excited
Right?
about buying agencies.
Dude, I can tell you guys, okay, Matt Evans, him and his wife, Christy, own and operate and run F2 Financial Freedom. Okay, we're actually in the middle of opening an RIA, right? Registered Investment
Yep.
Advisory Firm, which is gonna be really cool. But what we're doing right now, and Matt is leading the charge, by the way, or maybe Christy is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, we are buying several P&C agencies. I think it's 3 in total with 5 different locations. And I can tell you, when it comes to money, finances, buying businesses, being a financial advisor, Matt is the smartest dude I know. He's who I go to for nutritional advice, workout advice, Ironman advice, and what else? Money advice, right?
That's right. That's right.
So we are buying. What's up, Andrew? What's up, Becky? Appreciate you guys jumping in chat. We're in the middle of buying several P&C agencies. So Matt, appreciate you joining in on the webinar tonight, buddy. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I look forward to it. It's a great topic. It's a great way to grow, and I look forward to diving into it.
Dude, is there a better, faster way to really scale something?
If there is, I don't know of it. I think
Yeah.
it's just an amazing way to grow it quick and do the right thing for other people.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And what we're going to share tonight really is all the pieces, right? Whether it be, well, we're going to go through all the different steps, and Matt's going to walk us through. I've actually got the graphic pulled up, and I'll pull it up in a little bit, Matt. But what we're really talking about tonight is, okay, why should you want to acquire agencies? Also, why you should want to acquire agencies with us, by the way, okay? Because I'm going to talk about that, right? I don't think you should just be going and buying agencies. Like, for example, I'm not buying insurance agencies that don't include Matt and Christy Evans, right? And I'm not buying insurance agencies that don't include my dad. Well, you say that. Well, Cody, why is it important? Well, I don't have time, just like a lot of you watching, by the way. I don't have time, like Amanda out in Colorado. She doesn't have time to physically be running and managing another office and operation, right? She needs to be continue driving her current office, becoming more profitable, making money, growing and scaling what she's already doing, and oh, by the way, get a check in the mail for a disbursement for an agency that she's not having to physically operate, right, Matt? Which is pretty freaking cool, by the way, if you think about that.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome point that you make. And Amanda, I love Colorado, by the way.
True.
But I do think that's a great point is, how do you scale without having to, there's only so many hours in the day, and Cody is obviously jam-packed from his end. And so when he came to us and we came to him and Brian, it was just a really good way for us to all, they always say 2 is better than 1. So we could all do it separately. And I'm sure everyone would be successful, but I really do think together we can be greater. And later we'll give a pretty good example of one of the agencies we're requiring where he's a pretty young guy. And he basically said, I think we'd be better together because some of the other things you guys are doing.
Yes.
And we never even, honestly, I never thought we would acquire someone that was 34 years old. Never even crossed my mind. But yeah, it happened, and it was just a blessing, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it's really benefiting all parties. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, right? Is you're already doing whatever you're doing it well, or you wouldn't be on this webinar about acquiring insurance agencies. Like most of you probably, okay, are not like on here brand new to the business and totally broke, or you wouldn't be on here wanting to hear about how to acquire agencies. So for example, I'm curious of everybody in chat, okay, help me out. If you had to grind it out and build an insurance agency with 10,000 policyholders over 10 years and truly earn it. Or you can go acquire 10,000 policies tomorrow and have an equal revenue stream. Which would you prefer to do? Okay. And be honest, by the way. Some of you like, dude, I don't want nothing unless I earn it. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll take tomorrow and 10,000 policies on the books. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you bring up a really good point of, in the end, you know, to speak to stuff about Cody and Brian, when we kind of thought about doing this, none of us ever said, I think we deserve more. To Cody and Brian's credit, the first thing they ever said when we started talking about this was, Matt, I think you deserve more ownership. And so we're all basically, that's 100% true. And I think when you look for partners on how we're going to do things and how we're going to grow things, we want, I think I can speak for Cody, we want partners that say, how can this be good for everybody? And how can this be good for the people that we're purchasing it from? And can we really add value to them? And so from a first look standpoint, I think that's our objective, is to find really great people that say, how can we grow together?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot more fun that way too. Like,
Oh my gosh, yes.
I always ask people the question, would you rather be the worst player on the best team? Or would you rather be the best player on the worst team?
Yeah. And I am clearly, as you'll get to know me, going to be the worst player on this team, and it suits me just fine.
Stop. No
So
way. No way.
I just love it. So I can't wait.
Well, I'm the dumbest person on the team. I'm a halfway decent promoter, I guess, right?
To say the least.
With some cool contacts, right? With some cool contacts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it means the world that you guys are on talking about this, right? And I'm curious, like, what are you interested in learning tonight? Like, if you could pick one thing that you're interested in picking up, learning, developing, or doing, and maybe you're like, dude, I would love to buy an agency with you guys, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about here tonight, right? Now, you're going to learn and be able to take what we teach you and go do it on your own if that's what you want to do, right? More power to you. But I can tell you, I don't want to buy something where I have to physically go operate it. I just couldn't unless it was like $1 billion company, right? Like, I just don't have the time.
Absolutely.
You can always make time, but I'd rather not do that. So what we're going to talk about tonight is finding deals, right? Finding deals. How do you find them? And we actually don't have a problem finding them, which is really cool, by the way. I got to give you and Christy credit for this.
Absolutely. It's the hardest thing to do. And I think through some of the programs we're going to talk about, it's exactly what we did to get 4 different sellers in 2 different geographic locations, and 3 of them said yes, and I was only hoping for 1.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a whole process to, people can always tell, I think, are you full of it, or are you actually a really good person who my clients are going to like?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a huge part of it. So finding them's important, but every step after that, is just as equally important. But finding them is, something that through this process that we are already doing, and we can do it based upon zip code for anyone that's interested.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I'm getting really excited about this aspect, right? So for example, it's kind of funny, Matt, I got a comment from somebody on my Facebook post earlier. You may have saw it. And it's a buddy of mine, and I posted about the agencies thing, right? And he said, I didn't know you actually owned any agencies, right? Well, what's funny is I do, but nobody knows it because I never talk about it on my YouTube channel or on stage, right? Because I do have a lot of cool relationships. I have a lot of cool relationships with companies where I'm training their company, or I'm consulting, or I'm speaking at their events, or we're doing all their marketing. And I gotta make sure that I'm doing right by them. So it is kind of funny. Most people don't realize that, but yes, I have ownership in a 7-figure insurance agency. We're building out an RIA together because he's a financial advisor, and we're now focused really hard on acquiring agencies. And there's a lot of additional revenue streams that comes with acquiring an agency that most people don't think about, which is really cool too. And that creates a lot of extra money. Like, it's yeah, that's right. Chris Green. That's it. Yeah. What's up, Michael? So it's kind of funny. I mean, most people don't, there's a lot of cool, like, little outlier pieces of this that most people just don't think about or wrap their head around. So we're going to teach how to find deals, which is cool. Also fund deals, right? So
Yeah.
you have to get, when you're funding deals, you have to get creative. Matt is like the most creative negotiator I've ever seen in my life, by the way. Okay. I got to give you credit. And what I mean by that is a couple of these deals, like, you know, they're staying in the business. They're actually joining the team. Some of them are keeping equity. Some of them are not. Like, it's a lot. Some of them are like, have other books they want us to acquire that they've built up over the years. Like, it's kind of a wild thing that you've done, that's really got my attention and thought. I always thought, and I'm curious what you guys think. I always thought when you're acquiring it, you need to find some old person that
Yeah.
has done good but not great, and they're ready to sell, and they don't want anything to do with it ever, and they're just going to leave immediately. They're going to give you the keys, and they're going to freaking hit the door, right? Well,
Yeah.
apparently that's
Yeah.
not how it works.
No, and to talk about one of those agencies, the guy was he's 34. He does about 250,000, and I never expected to get a lead for a guy 34 doing 250. So when we went out to meet with him, I didn't really know what to expect. And so we went out and met with him, and I just was like, why do you need us? Like, what's going on here? And we kind of showed him some of the stuff we'll talk about later, and kind of preparing. I came prepared to show him, you know, how can I add value to you? Not, hey, would you sell me your business? And so I laid out all the value propositions because I knew he only had time for PNC. And I think we'll go into some of that maybe later, but I knew he only did PNC. And I said, look, you're missing out on probably 250,000 of revenue at a minimum.
Yes.
And he was like, I agree. I'm swamped. I need help here, here, and here. And I said, look, through Secure, through, you know, F2, we've done it. Brian and Cody have already done it. They've took a company from 200 to 400 in, I think, a year and a half, just by implementing processes. And, you know, I think one thing is, you probably already know Cody, but don't necessarily know me. I'm pretty much a straight shooter. Like, if we did 200 to 400, I'll tell you, I won't say 200 to 800. You know, the truth is the truth, because then I never have to lie about anything. But and 2 of the 3 that we're purchasing are people under 45. Wow. And actually, the third one is 48, and 2 of the 3 are all staying on to just work it. And that is the perfect situation. And so if you can bring value, and really if we can help you bring value, then you can go in there and we can help you prepare you, look like a rock star on every single front.
Yeah, that's where having a lot of deals in the pipeline really helps, because then you're able to do that. And for those that don't, I mentioned Matt was like my nutritionist and work trainer and Ironman guy. He's not really my trainer, but he is. If you've been following me for a while, he is the crazy guy that I did the Ironman with back a year ago.
A year ago, I just got a notice on that, and it was like, man, it's been a year.
That's crazy.
It was awesome. It was a great time. I love challenging myself,
dude,
mentally and physically and in work.
Yeah, it was great for you because you kicked my butt, and I think I still have PTSD from that thing. So that's why it's been a year. Maybe I'm back ready to do something again because it's been a year. I don't know, but
I keep trying to talk Cody into a full Ironman. What is everyone? Maybe if we get enough votes on here, he'll do one with me.
If enough of you buy agencies with us, maybe I'll consider it, right? So funding deal is really important. Also, but if you vote, you got to do it with me. So be careful there, okay? Third, really filling positions, right? Like one of the things that I'm going to be able to help with is with our network. We're going to be able to find additional agents and people to plug into some of these companies that we're acquiring, which is really cool.
And I think that's a great point, Cody, and I know you always don't toot your own horn, but part of the reason Christy and I kind of targeted Cody and Brian, there's a lot of reasons, but from a pure business standpoint, as we go into these shops, one of them's in Texas, 2 of them are in Springfield. As we go into these, my number one problem was not, do I have the processes, but how do I find, if they just do PNC, how do I find the Medicare person? How do I find the life person? How do I find the fee-based person? And I knew 100% right then and there, all Cody has to do is send out a tweet or a post. He's obviously much more social media savvy than I am.
That's
But
good.
it solved a huge problem I have. He solved the problem of, I can't promise these people all these things and not deliver. And I wasn't going to do that. So when we promised them that we would put in Medicare people, we have one guy, he has a Houston office, he has 15 spaces to grow. And so that's why Cody solved that problem. That problem is solved from our end. And so him having ownership on our side was worth it.
Yeah.
Because I think that ownership's going to be, in my mind, could we have bought them alone? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have people that have my personal expertise is more on growing the financial services side. My wife is just PNC. So how do I grow the Medicare, the life, the health, the annuity? And that's where I said, let's partner up on this and let's grow it.
Yeah, it's been fun. Also, for those that don't know, Matt and I, my dad and I have known Matt since like February of 14, so almost 8 years this coming February, which is a long time. We've been looking forward to doing something together for quite a while. Here, Matt, I've shared most of what I'm wanting to think through and talk through at least. Where would you like to jump in and take it from here?
You want to start at the beginning, or is there a certain area you think?
You mean to share You may share the agency acquisition graphic that we go by?
Sure. I do think while he's finding that a real area of expertise that people don't think about because they think they can't participate in it is the financial services side. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but just so everybody's aware. And, the reason financial people don't really talk about this is because most BDs and RIAs won't put in the effort, but there's probably half the states in the country that will actually allow you to participate directly in fees and commissions on the broker dealer and RIA side. And people, when I say that, people are always like, isn't that rebating? This can't be true. I'm telling you, it's 100% legal. There's states that allow it. And that just changes the game for you and for us from now you own a PNC shop and you can get 30% of the revenue on just the security side. And if that PNC shop does 200 grand, you're probably talking about another 200 to 300 grand in just recurring revenue on that side. So how do you fill that? We'll talk about some of that as well. Yeah. But just as a teaser, people have always questioned me and they said it can't be true. And I send them the solicitor agreement and they're like, all right, we can do that.
You really got my attention with all this, and I'm looking forward to adding that to these agencies that we're acquiring too. The actual, literally the fee-based assets under management side, because and he knows all the terminology for this way better than me. But there's a lot more money available on that side of the business than I even realized. Like he told me a while back, like, dude, you wouldn't believe it, but there's actually way more money available on that side than the insurance side, right? And I'm like, are you sure? Right?
Yeah, well, there's so much money on all sides. And it's funny, I always hear PNC people say they don't want to do financial services. And I hear financial services say, I'll never do PNC. And I just say, what if you could do what you like and we fill the hole with someone and you get a part of the revenue? Yeah. And let's actually join a team together that wants us all to grow so that we don't have to go to, I don't know if you guys have BNI meetings or networking meetings or any of that junk. But it just solves that problem of we're all going to push towards this common goal.
Well, and on a side note, we're in the middle of acquiring a book in South Texas, and the gentleman is actually introducing us to, I don't even know, a ton of PNC agencies and agents that want to refer their life and health to us. That's a bunch of additional revenue that he wasn't capitalizing on, and that we didn't maybe immediately think we would capitalize on so quick.
Yeah, he's referring, it's a really good point, Cody. He's referring all these agencies that he knows that say, I'd like to participate in some of the life and the health and the annuity. Will I refer to you? Absolutely. Yeah. And then he's also might not go into it from this call, but as like a teaser, because I love this space, the bank and credit union space is amazing. So if you haven't thought about that space and you ever want to talk about it, let me know.
Yeah, you've opened my eyes to that piece too. Yes. Okay, so I got the graphic up.
All right. So as far as finding a seller, I think, what we're going to do is based upon the program, and I think Cody introduced it maybe a little bit later, but what we do is we have a program in place where we basically call around, and there's a way to do it in a script from our end, but we do that work. We call around and basically just ask people, A, are you wanting to sell? And B,
Yes.
the other question really for them is, like the 34-year-olds, are you looking to expand? Are you maxed out and you want to find a way to expand?
Yep.
And I honestly hadn't thought about that until we started getting some traction there. So as far as finding a seller, it's been, we do all that work for you on the seller side. And I think the important part on that side is we do not charge most people are going to do this and they want to charge you a 10% of the purchase price. So if you get a 500 grand deal, they want another 50 grand just for themselves. So you have to pay the 50 grand.
On that note, I mean, you like we're acquiring a book for like 600K. That's 600 grand. Normally you would have to give a broker $60,000 just for putting the deal together.
Yeah.
Well, with Matt and Christy's experience and what we're learning, what we're doing with already like a full team on place, which you'll talk about, we can actually go find you deals for a tenth of what you have to pay a broker. Like we're not getting rich off of you closing agencies and moving on. We want to get rich together by acquiring a bunch of agencies. So literally for as little as 6K, we can actually hand you several leads of deals that we can go buy together, right? Which is a big difference. Big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. And they're just wanting to close the sale. They're just wanting to say, hey, whatever. They don't care what the purchase price is. They don't care if it's not going to work. They don't care if the numbers aren't great for you. Mm-hmm. One of these deals that we waited on and I procrastinated on because I just didn't feel right. And I'm not saying my negotiation skills are usually what's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like whatever is fair, and that's the price. And if people want to go up or down, I'm going to do what's fair. And so we had a lady and she was wanting basically $750,000. And I did not feel it was a good deal. And so she kept wanting me to sign the contract. And I'm like, I just don't feel good about this. And she's like, let's have a call. And it wasn't my negotiating skills. It was probably Brian's. But in the end, she came down $150,000.
Yep.
To a fair price. I wasn't trying.
We didn't beat her up. We just showed her the numbers.
Right. We showed her the note. We showed her the numbers. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. And I'm never going to be the used car sales guy, but I am going to be here are the numbers. Here are the facts. It can't work. And when we showed her the numbers, she was actually like, she came to us, which was amazing. Yeah. And said, this just doesn't seem fair. 600,000. So she came down a whole 150 grand, which was
20%
eye-opening from our part. But yeah, for the finding the seller is 100% the hardest part from a acquisition. From that point, it's the hardest part. But if you can find the right deals, and we can't obviously promise, we can promise we'll find you 3 deals. We can't promise they're actually going to sell. We can't promise they're, you just never know. So part of the other stuff that we're going to talk about, like the script and how you prepare, it's 100% important to make sure you're prepared from how can I add value to you and help you? So for example, when we went into one of them, my wife prepared a really awesome graphic on, okay, you do PNC, and how can we help you in Medicare? How can we help you in life? How can we help you in annuities? And I just talked to him and I said, look, on the younger guy, I said, you do 250 now. Just in these two areas will double your production. And then on the fee-based side, through the solicitor agreement, I can pay you 30% on everything. And the key on the solicitor and the financial side is I'm straight up with them. And I was told him, look, if the financial side becomes so great that you want to get licensed, I will hand over the 70% and you can have that and we'll take the 30. And he was like, that seems fair to me. So when we go to prepare, we are doing an actual document. I'm not saying it's brain surgery, but it really helps that person see the vision and not just, oh, they just want the revenue. They don't care about the clients. They don't care about growth. They don't care about anything. And so when he saw that document, as far as the visual, he literally said to us, he's like, I really like your vision. I really like where you want to take it. He really liked Brian and my wife. He probably was pretending like he liked me, but he really just saw the vision and said, I'm in. So when we prepare people to go and do this, I'm not just putting another circle on the screen saying I'm preparing you and I'm like, hey, go talk to me. We can actually give you a document. Our document, it was probably 10 to 15 pages, depending upon the areas. But it was the reason I think he decided to go with us when he wanted to sell. And he's only selling half of it. So he's retaining half and we're buying half because we didn't want to participate in all this for him just putting his contracts through us or something like that.
Correct. Exactly.
And so, as we kind of go through some of this, when we went to make the offer and we do the negotiation, Brian, Cody's dad, he asks a great question that I really like. Basically, he just said, in a perfect situation, what would be the best deal for you? And they're really open up and say, you really get to see where they're at. So they'll tell you exactly what they want and how they want it. And some of the people that we're doing it now with, we're just giving them upfront money for a portion of the ownership. Some of them we're giving it all up front. Obviously, we have very strict legal contracts with them, but some of the people might do notes and things like that. So when we go to kind of offer and we go through the negotiation with them, it's really more of a conversation than a negotiation. Yeah. Because a negotiation to me makes me on the other side of them. Whereas I try to position me and Cody and Brian and my wife if we're not in it together, then let's just quit talking.
Totally. What wouldn't you say? So we just got a question from Tatiana. She joined a little late. She said, how much of investment someone should start with? What size of agency should we look for? Our specialty's in P&C, and there's a good reason for that, by the way. Even if you're not P&C licensed or you're not familiar with P&C, don't let that scare you. I actually love the P&C world if I'm not physically having to sell the P&C policies, which I've bet a lot of you are the same way. But I would say, Matt, because of SBA, I would say they could probably get in for as little as 25 to 50K. Get involved?
Yeah, I would say, as an example, on let's say it's 500 grand on a SBA. Technically, they would say 10% down.
So 50.
But and some of the thing is, we were totally upfront with these people. And so if, let's say you don't have 50, but you have 25, if the seller will do a 5% note, that 5% plus your 5% equals that 10%. And typically then that's okay. And so I usually say 10%, but sometimes you can get 5%. Get away with 5% down as well. So I'm seeing some of these questions.
Yep.
But so yeah, the financing is important. It is the longest, hardest part as far as after you get to where you think you want to be all together. But yeah, so if you had 10% down as like a benchmark. Now SBA, don't forget with SBA, if you're a felon or you have some major background issues, SBA isn't going to work,
Right.
but a bank might work too on some of that. To me, Dave Ramsey says buy everything with cash, and I'm kind of like, cash only costs like 5%, 6% right now. So if I could deposit 50 grand and I'm making 100 grand a year after I pay the note, maybe Dave isn't right about everything.
Yeah.
I would say I'm a conservative person money wise I'm not just going to go blow money. And so from a financing side, I would probably guess around 5 to 10% and 10% to be safe.
Okay, good. That's helpful. That's awesome. What other questions do we have? We're going to keep going, but what other questions do we have based on what you've heard here so far? I'm curious who has some legit interest in this, who would like to eventually do some of this, and who's curious about, how it all works more and what it looks like. Follow-up question, why you like the PNC world? Why would I like to buy a PNC agency instead of a Medicare agency or anything else? Because of the growth opportunities, because the owner might have not cross-sold other lines. Typically, they have not cross-sold other lines. That's a big portion. Also, I would say that PNC is just it's a very consistent world that we just feel. I mean, and it's easier to find.
Absolutely. They're selling PNC agencies, all over the place. And I guess we have a question on what do you look for in a sale, number of policies, longevity. That kind of gets into due diligence, which is, I would say Cody and I are more of the pusher and my wife is more of the data contracts. So the contracts are really important from a profitability standpoint. So we don't necessarily look for how many policies do they have, but my wife looks at, do they have loss ratios that are horrible? Do they have non-standard auto? Do they, the guy in Texas, and some of it's looking for things that don't seem to be great, but that you can solve the problem, or maybe we can help you solve the problem. The guy in Texas literally has 65 different places he puts his policies. So when you have 65 places you put your policies, guess what? You ain't getting a bonus. You ain't maxing out your contract. So in the due diligence phase, when you say, what do you look for in a sale? We look for, I think Cody would attest, I want to work with great people first. If they're a slime ball, I just don't have the energy. Second, we look for, is it good business? Can we actually help them? If they had 5,000 policies and they're doing 50 grand of commissions, that's probably not that great. But if they had 5,000 policies and they're doing 700,000 of commissions, because you want to make sure you can cross sell some of that, and you'll kind of know based upon the book and where they're at. But I don't know if that answered that question.
Yeah, I thought that was good. That was very good. Also, Amanda said, I took a lot from Matt's breakout at 8%, and I love this one too. He's a thinker. I'm definitely interested. Awesome.
Thank you, Amanda.
That's awesome. That's cool.
So Amanda heard my spiel on credit unions. She was probably tired of hearing it. But the due diligence process is just as important as everything else from a making sure you're buying a good book. And a lot of people don't know what to look for. You need a lot of detailed information, and that's where my wife kind of comes in and says, here's everything we need. We get it together, and then we say, you may want to pass on this. You may want to acquire this. You may want to, let's talk to them a little bit more, or let's ask some questions on cross-selling.
Yeah, it's really got me excited about, I could see us owning hundreds of insurance agencies around the country with other people, right? I mean, and also
Yeah.
we're gonna vet Matt's gonna vet you as well watching before we just start doing business with you, by the way. Like we're, I mean, you should saw how much we vetted one of the acquisitions that we're working on. I won't get specific, but we vetted one fairly hard. Well, we need to be sure that this is going to make it, that everything we're being told is truthful, and that yes, we can help them, but we can also get our money back at some point, you know, and that this is a long-term viable, sustainable, scalable business.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, which is super important, you know.
Hmm.
What else have we not touched on specifically?
You know, one point to make is as we kind of go through why we want to own it together, and I'm sure people are thinking, why would I want to own it with someone else? The PNC shop we're getting in Texas,
And you do not have to have your PNC license, by the way.
the PNC shop we're getting in Texas, he was averaging about 8.5% commissions. When we come in and everything's done, those commissions should be more like 12 to 14. So that's a 50% increase. And so whether
Free
we
money.
own whatever the split is, it's about the end number, not about the ownership percentage. It's about how much money we can make in the end together.
Yes.
So I just thought that's a really important part to throw out there.
And there's a lot of cases where a lot of you watching, if you end up doing something together and acquiring something together, there's a good chance you may end up owning more than we do, you know, which is totally okay. Like, again, we're not in it. There's you know, several of us, like we're not in it for a paycheck today or tomorrow. We're in it for really building something special and getting paid later. Like this is a, you know, you think about it from a retirement standpoint, like, or really growing something quick. Like acquisitions is a big piece. That's a big play. I've got Amanda and Tatiana both that said, "Hey, I'm interested in at least having a conversation about it." Who else is on here and you're willing to jump in chat and say, "Yeah, I'll have a conversation. Yeah, I'll talk. Yes, I have some money. Yes, I'm interested. Or yes, I would like to eventually do this. It's you know, at some point." Because again, it's not for everyone, right? Like we gave some of those caveats at the very beginning, because specifically, it's not like everyone is not going to qualify to do this immediately. Like Andrew just said, "Hey, I would like to do it one day," right? Which is awesome, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, Andrew's in Power Players, by the way, so we'll get to see him
Oh, awesome.
in March in the Virgin Islands because he's part of the Power Player Mastermind, which is cool. And we'll be seeing him for years. So once he's ready, boom, right?
Yeah.
We'll just turn it
Yeah,
on.
I think everyone has my contact info.
I gave your email. I can give out whatever you would prefer.
Yeah, if you just want to shoot me an email, we can set up a time to talk and go through some more specifics. You know, that would be a good next step just to see if we're a fit for everybody.
That is definitely not the right link. I clicked paste, and that must have been the last link I had was a Coach Burt link. That's funny.
Are there other questions that anybody has?
Let me grab it. Let me see if this works.
I will say too, one of the really nice parts about the PNC side is those clients have stayed with those people for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so the stickiness of the business is usually pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, that's an important piece too when you're buying it. Like we got to analyze all of those things specifically because you know you don't want to acquire something and then a bunch of business just run out the door because of the owner specifically.
Yeah.
And there's some operations where that would probably happen in some cases, you know. So which is it's good to know and talk through. Also, I got Brandon. Good to see you, buddy. I got you on the list. Becky, I got you on the list. That's cool. Thank you. Good to see you as well. I can't see the information for his phone number and email. Oh, I'm only sending for host and panelists. That's why you guys aren't getting my stuff. I've been sending stuff out the whole time.
And I will say too, on a side note, on the fee-based side, let's say you're not ready on the PNC side, but you have a, I don't know what everyone does on here, but let's say you have a successful Medicare practice and you want to know, can I grow the financial planning side? How do I do that? That's as easy as us just having a conversation and saying, here's what we do, here's how you do it. Here's, we're going to roll out some stuff on the marketing side and the investment side. And when I say no one else is doing it, I don't say that lightly, but no one else is doing what we're going to be rolling out and our partners on the fee-based side. So, it's, if the PNC time isn't right now, like I think it was Andrew, and you want to figure out how to grow the fee-based side, you could maybe use some of that revenue to buy a PNC place.
True.
So.
Brandon said, can you talk through a little more about SBA loans and other options?
Sure. The SBA loans that, there's a lot of different SBA loans, but we basically have a partner who's one of 15 direct SBA providers, and they walk us through basically everything. So they gather all of our information, and once you do it once and you send them all the information, it's much easier to do a second or a third time. So, the example I gave on the SBA loan is, they're going to look at a business plan. And when I say a business plan, it's not, don't let that scare you. It's not a full-blown business plan. Basically, they just want to know, is your current business successful? Yes. Okay. So you're not going to be taking money from this to pay for this. And then what they're going to do is we'll help create a financial package, meaning they want to know, okay, what are the profit and losses for the business over the last so many years? What does it look like now? What's the plan going forward? And from there, the SBA loans that we're going to use typically are going to be 10% down, funded for probably 6 to 8 years. You could go up to 10. It just depends upon what the math looks like. So maybe the first 8 years just on that loan with just no growth, maybe you're getting $4,000 a month out of it. Maybe you're getting $5,000, whatever that number looks like. It's not going to be the 20 grand a month, but in all the residual stuff, don't forget, you don't pay any of that to the person you sold to. That's all yours. And so that's where the real meat comes in from a first 6 years perspective.
Yes. Yeah, it's good. It's strong. I mean, it's a big opportunity that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We love it, and there's so much to be done on the different areas. So how can we win in it together?
That's right. We've been going about 44 minutes. We'll go a couple more minutes if you have any questions at all. I didn't want to go too late. I got to jump on an early jet trip to go hang out with my buddy Matt in Orlando.
I'm flying on a really, commercial airline.
It's big. It's bigger than my plane that I'm going to be on, though.
This is true.
Right?
This is true.
We'll stop through St. Louis and pick you up on the way.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? We still have a good amount on. Okay, Brian, DG, Billy, Jared, John, Oscar, several we haven't heard from at all yet. Okay, don't be shy. If you have any questions at all, nothing's off limits. Whatever's cool. If we don't have any more, that's okay too. Again, the purpose of tonight's webinar was to give you more information about how you could do this on your own, but to also let you know that you don't have to do it on your own. And if you want to acquire one agency or multiple agencies over the course of few months or years, that we are here to help. We're here to help you find deals. We're here to help you fund deals. We're here to help you fill different locations and to actually operate the business, right? And to actually help oversee that because you're busy running your company, so that you can also have other passive income streams by being an investor, right? In acquiring business, which is really cool. Jared said, thanks guys. I'm very new to being an agent, but planting long-term mental seeds is important. Thanks for helping me develop that vision. You got it, buddy. Thank you. Is Colorado or Kansas a state that this works for? That's a great question.
I'm assuming, Amanda, you're talking about the fee-based side?
Um,
Obviously, the PNC side works. Okay. The As far as the PNC and the fee-based side go, with you owning it, that pretty much will work um, anywhere because of the ownership. If it's can I input the fee-based side into my current practice, since I don't know your current practice or what that looks like? We'd have to talk about if the solicitor agreement works in your state. Um, and it may or may not have to. It depends upon, we'd have to just talk more, honestly. There's so
Yeah.
many variables to that, but Amanda, I'd be happy to jump on a call and talk about that. But
Also, is there anything like DG's up in over in the UK? Is there anything? Is that? I mean, we're not going to buy anything in the
I've
UK,
never
but
been to the UK, but maybe we could get on that plane and go over there.
that's right.
I don't really know about, honestly, I don't know about the UK, but I can't imagine it wouldn't work there
Yeah, yeah.
unless there's some law.
True. Michael Coons, what's up, buddy? He says, yeah, people are always attacking your Medicare business, but PNC people attack it. People are much more loyal because of brick and mortars are still important. If they don't come in, more policies you have, the more value you provide, the more time you can spend on acquiring new business or agencies. Good move. I never thought about doing it in a partnership. I've bought a couple here in Texas. Gonna think about it. Okay, good. Good.
Where are you at in Texas?
That's awesome. I think it'd be, Michael, if it's okay, I'm gonna add you to the list, buddy, just because I think we could possibly even learn something from you because you've already done this as well. So
Okay.
Deep East Texas.
I love Texas. So that's where one of the ones we acquired is, but he's in South Texas. Oh, 2 hours from Houston east. So is that, gosh, we actually might want to talk to you.
Yeah, that makes that. Yeah, that one could be. It's not that far.
Yeah,
Which Texas is a big state, so who knows? But
right.
yeah, that's good. I'm curious, Michael. How many of you acquired in Texas already? I bought a couple too. 5. Oh, well, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Good for you, buddy. That's huge. Yep.
And inside those 5, another thing to think about is, depending upon what you're doing, Cody and Secure could help teach you how to do and add other things into the offering. And so maybe you do Medicare, but if you don't do Medicare, for example, I know they grew 2 other PNC shops tremendously through Medicare. So that might be something just to think about from a win-win perspective.
Yeah, we acquired one Medicare agency that was doing 30 grand a month. That's now doing approximately 60 grand a month, just a couple years later, right? Which is crazy. And no matter what you pay, that's a good deal, right? Well,
Right.
it's because of all the additional things and because it was local. There's some other things that helped with that, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Matt, how would you like to wrap this up? I got to pack up and hit the road soon, but how would you like to leave this?
I'd just like to leave it like, we're here to answer questions and help you guys as much as you want to be helped. And we appreciate the time. And from our end, I think we would commit to we're just going to be transparent, tell you everything we know. And if we can help and you want to partner, great. And if it's not a fit, we can just give you knowledge.
Yeah,
that's fine too.
Totally. No big deal. We're going to do more of these. You're going to see Matt around quite a bit more. He's going to be at a lot of the road shows, which is cool. He's a good dude. Love him and his wife and his whole family. We're going to do a bunch of cool stuff together. And hopefully one day we can do something cool with you guys as well. Okay. Appreciate you being on. If you do have any more interest in or you have any questions, again, Matt at f2family.com. Matt, phenomenal job and appreciate you being on tonight,
Thanks,
buddy.
man. Thanks for having me. Great to see you. Good job.
You got it. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll see you at one of the road shows soon. Thanks for jumping on How to Acquire Insurance Agencies. Adios. See ya. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. What's some of the things you're doing successfully in your business now to prospect and get in front of people, like outside of AEP, like just the rest of the year?
So outside of AEP, I mean, obviously, we're a pretty big referral operation.